Right now, the Dow future is down sharply as global markets take a big hit in response to President Trump's tariffs announcements. And just moments ago, China announced plans to implement 34% retaliatory, tariffs on U.S. goods starting April 10th.
So senior White House correspondent Jacqui Heinrich is watching all this. She's a little seasick, and she joins us now. Jacqui, tell us the latest. And you have your own landscaper issues, it sounds like.
I do. I do. You know, Brian, this market reaction was a shock to everyone, really, except for President Trump, who likened it to a scheduled medical procedure to treat a sick patient.
I think it's going very well. It was an operation, like when a patient gets operated on, and it's a big thing. I said this would exactly be the way it is. We have $6 or $7 trillion coming into our country, and we've never seen anything like it. The markets are going to boom, the stock is going to boom, the country is going to boom.
And his administration is echoing that line, even as the impacts keep coming. This morning, China announcing retaliatory tariffs of 34% effective April 10th. That, by the way, is exactly the kind of countermeasure that Treasury Secretary said would prompt escalation from the U.S., repeatedly warning against it. The president's aides maintain this strategy will work and the fallout will be short, despite recession warnings from some economists.
This will be a short time of uncertainty, and then we'll move back to the prosperity that this president has envisioned, that he is so bold and so willing to fight for. And I couldn't be more proud and stand next to him. The new golden age of prosperity will move in.
Now, there are some signs that the president's prescription might work. General Motors announcing plans to boost production of light-duty trucks in the U.S., announcing that it is hiring several hundred temporary workers as the auto industry also grapples with sector-specific tariffs.
The renaissance of American manufacturing coming because Donald Trump is bringing them back. He's driving them back. $6 trillion, he said today, he's got committed to America. It's unbelievable.
And other countries are also responding. Mexico and Canada both hastening negotiations with the U.S. toward a new USMCA trade deal. Eric Trump posting to X, "I wouldn't want to be the last country that tries to negotiate a trade deal with Donald Trump. The first to negotiate will win. The last will absolutely lose. I've seen this movie my entire life." Meantime, Democrats are sounding off about the inflationary impacts of this plan. In the House, planning to force a vote to try to kill the tariffs entirely, guys.
All right. Thank you so much.
Jacqui.
All right.
Brian?
So this just came across, guys. So China officially has retaliated. You know, when you put the fentanyl penalty along with the tariffs issued yesterday, we have tariffed China over 50%. They have just responded. They don't want to be bullied, air quotes. They with a 34% tariffs. They also listed 11 American companies of so-called unreliable entities. And they're going to halt chicken imports, too. Listen, we get a lot more from them than they get from us. Yeah, and drone companies, which a lot of it's going to hurt the defense industry, too, because a lot of the parts that we use, sadly, and astoundingly, that our Pentagon uses are from parts and materials that we get from China. So this is a big wake-up call. The other big story is pharmaceuticals are going to be targeted as early as today. Why? Remember, we don't make any drugs here, but yet we use them all. So how do you bring manufacturing back? Well, if you're in Ireland, there's no reason to come here. It's at 0%. But now we're going to start bringing them back as tariffs hit. Lastly, about China, it looks like we're going to tariff third parties that buy Venezuelan oil. Guess who buys Venezuelan oil? China. So they could be hit in the oil pocket, too.
Well, Brian, I think the statement that they produce and they're being bullied is comical. They steal products. They use slave labor. They spy on everything that we do, especially if you're a company there, you got to turn over all your data to them as well. And they use that to build up. They're funding some of our enemies as well. So if there's anybody getting bullied is the United States. We finally you got COVID as well. Good point, Ainsley. So what we have now is a president that is taking it seriously and taking it to China.
Yeah, and Bill Ackman, who is the billionaire hedge fund guy, he said, my advice to foreign leaders is that if you have not already reached out to President Donald Trump, you need to do so immediately. Trump is, at his core, a deal maker who sees the world as a series of transactions. Based on his track record to date with foreign governments, law firms, and universities, he is a tough but fair negotiator. He loves to make deals, and he loves to get things done promptly. Promptly. I expect Trump will reward the early deal makers with fairer deals than those that wait to sit down at the negotiation table, which sounds just like what Eric Trump said. And Donald Trump said, every country has called us. That's the beauty of what we do. We put ourselves in the driver's seat. So I think if you're one of the first few countries that's calling him, trying to make a deal, that's the one that's going to get those countries are going to get the headlines and going to say they're working with the United States. So I think it would be smart if they were doing this. It looks like they might be behind the scenes.
So a couple of things. Yesterday, Ainsley and I, we know a shirt manufacturer and textiles. And he said the one thing that I was showing Ainsley, the text messages that people should realize is that we don't really have textile mills that make shirts because it's not a matter of just plugging it in, turning on a machine.
Right.
You actually need skilled people to do it. So if you're going to tariff 25%, let's say, coming from Vietnam, right away, they almost become insolvent, especially if you took on debt after the pandemic to keep your company alive. So there's so many different elements to it. You could sincerely want to bring your business back. But America right now says, I'm sorry, all we have is vacant warehouses where factories used to be, or we were never good at it. Ethan Lane, the Senior Vice President of Government Affairs, Exporters, said, doesn't love tariffs, but understands what Trump's doing.
Nobody who imports or exports likes tariffs, us included, right? This is not a tool that we would pick if we had other options. But the president makes a very good point that for a very long time, we've had the raw end of a lot of these trade deals. You know, in the case of the beef industry, we've been used as, trade bait or a bargaining chip in some of these international relationships. And it's led to some really lopsided relationships. And our hope here is that the president can use this tool to square up the deck and get us a little bit of a better deal with some of these trading partners so that we're not balancing the backs of these different trade balances on U.S. farmers and ranchers. So, we're hopeful this happens quickly and that we can get back to some low tariff trading with our neighbors and our partners.
Yeah, I think he highlights a point, Ainsley, that I think, shouldn't have to be highlighted is they don't want tariffs. This is not something that these communities want, but they're saying they're getting screwed over. And why are we accepting products with no tariff on it, and the other countries are putting tariffs on our beef? And I think that's where it's gonna come down to. All these mom and pops, all these local businesses, whether it's the steel, the farmers, all the other producers, they're saying that it needs to be some give and take here.
Yeah, it needs to be free and fair, and that's what Donald Trump says.